Welcome to What Car Should You Buy? A weekly show where we debate the merits of various cars and then you tell us how stupid our haircuts look. In today's episode, we're going to discuss whether or not you should buy a used exotic car. This is a topic that's very near and dear to my own heart because I once owned a used exotic car and I hated approximately 99% of my time with it. There was one good moment where a little kid walked up to me in an event and said, "Is that a Ferrari?" And I said, "Yes!" But then I remembered the 4-year belt service still cost $5 grand. But enough about me. What about you? Should you buy a used exotic? Let's talk cars. My guests today are Matt Miller, news anchor for Bloomberg Television and owner of an almost exotic used Porsche 911. Also joining me is Jeannette Klein, event coordinator for Classic Car Club Manhattan, who can provide some first-hand advice since she spends her entire day around used exotic cars. Matt, Jeannette, what are your thoughts?
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being
here.
Matt, tell us about your experience buying the used 911.
So,
has it been a good experience, etc.?
For me, it's been great.
Yeah.
I've wanted a 911 for pretty much my whole life, and
what year is this car?
I bought a 2013 Carrera S.
So this is a 991.
991. It's not that obviously exotic,
right?
Since it's basically just a new, car. But I've always thought about buying an older one. I wanted a 993 for a long time, and I could never find one that was in either good enough condition or cheap enough. Both in good enough condition and cheap enough. And actually, this time when I got the 991, what I really wanted was a 997, and I'm still kind of kicking myself for not having bought the older model. I just figured the newer one would be.
Why do you say that? Why do you kick yourself?
Well, the steering on the 991 it sucks. It's like driving a video game. You get no feedback. And since I test cars for Bloomberg, every time I get into an Aston Martin Vantage, a Nissan GTR, or a Lamborghini, or anything that has real hydraulic steering, it just makes me wish that I had that. Or every time I reach for a handbrake and there isn't one there because they've gone with this ridiculous
button things.
Yeah, I don't understand
What's up?
that.
Where are the handbrakes? I know.
I don't know why. They say they were saving space, but they could have put it here.
It's a weird-looking thing in the middle of the car.
What would you put in that space anyway?
They put really nothing useful in that space, like a coin holder.
So how has it been to have
my experience
used...
has been great because here's the deal. I bought basically a brand new 911. It had 1,200 miles on it.
Right.
And for my purposes, basically driving to work and back and the occasional trip to the beach, it's an awesome car. It never breaks down. I got an incredible deal, like 40% off.
So this is 1,200 miles got you 40% off.
Yeah,
1,200 miles, it listed at
supercars.
130, and I got it for 90.
Jeannette, at the car club, you have some crazy stuff.
We got some crazy stuff.
What the biggest concern most people have with buying a used exotic car? This hasn't been Matt's experience, but Matt's car is newer.
Okay.
Is reliability.
What, that they're beat up or
well,
that
no,
they're...
I mean, are you?
Well,
what kind of maintenance goes into keeping these things running?
I mean, it depends on what. I mean, are we talking about?
Well, I mean, let's talk Lamborghini. You guys have Lamborghini, right?
Thank God, most of those are usually covered under warranty.
Those are covered under warranty by new ones.
Yeah, new ones.
Are they that bad? You have experience.
No, they're not that bad. I'm just saying, what's on the agenda? Are you buying a used supercar for the flash?
I think so. Don't you think a lot of the people who are buying used exotic cars want to stand out?
No.
You don't think? I mean, a lot
Not
of people.
Not at all. I have a guy that's just bought. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just think you have to take the price into account as well, because if you're looking at a normal person's budget, an Acura NSX might still be in the realm of possibility.
Right.
If you're looking at a new Lamborghini,
range,
for most people, it's unaffordable.
Well, let's talk about
already.
let's talk about like maybe a 10. You guys have like a Ferrari 328 though, don't you?
We used to.
I mean,
that would be my dream. That would be my dream exotic. If I could buy any exotic,
you could get a 328 for
guaranteed that I could fit into it, and guaranteed that the maintenance wouldn't be off the hook.
If you have a mechanic on standby, great, amazing car, go for it.
This is interesting.
Do they need that much work, Ferraris?
Hells yeah.
The 308 and 328?
Hells yeah.
Is that the year you didn't have to take the engine out anymore?
I don't know about that, actually.
308 and 328, I can't remember if you had to take engine out. 348 and 355,
I think you did. I think you did.
Yeah, I can't remember. Maybe you do. I wouldn't surprise me because the next ones you do. The problem with these engine out things is insanely expensive.
You, of all people, should know this.
Well, and the 360, I'm happy that I got the 360, and I did obviously a ton of research before I did. The 360's engine didn't have to come out, but it was still like $5 grand every 4 years. And then there's all this...
Every 4 years?
Every 4, 5, 3, 4, 5.
That's awesome. $5 grand every 4 years?
Plus,
you're looking at like $80 a month? That's fantastic for owning a Ferrari.
Here's the deal. These guys are driving the cars 2,000 miles a year. I bought the car. It was 11 years old. It had 17,000 miles on it. They didn't even get 2,000 miles, and they're still spending $5,000 plus the other crap that breaks, right? Clutch is $5,000. The dealer charges $200 an hour for labor. Why didn't you? When you
Wait, hang on a second. Did you not have a good experience with this car? I mean, it was amazing. The videos I've seen of you driving back from Florida were awesome.
Ferrari ownership is.
Seems like you're torn.
I am incredibly glad that car is gone. The happiest, everybody says to me, oh, the happiest day will be the day you buy it and the day you sell it. No, the happiest days were the day I sold it, the day the truck came to take it away, the day I listed it for sale.
Why? Why was it so bad?
Imagine driving a Ferrari.
Maintain.
It's just annoying. Everything about it is annoying. Every
Listen,
aspect of that
I agree
car.
that it's the sound, the exhaust notes, the sound of the engine, all very, very gratifying. The bill that you get slapped with, not so much.
And
but that's
it was
what I'm
more
saying.
than that.
What's the agenda, though?
How much did it cost you overall to own the Ferrari, not including buying it?
Not including depreciation?
Not include buying it, and well, what was depreciation? Let's take that as a chunk.
Like $8,000 in a year.
Okay, $8,000. Well, you didn't necessarily have to sell it 1 year after you bought
Correct.
it.
I mean, I honestly bought it high and sold it lower than I should have because I needed to turn it around quickly because there are
Right.
some tax implications for me.
I just took $8,000 of depreciation on a motorcycle because I bought it and sold it in the span of 2 months. But that's my fault.
Right. As a personal assistant, so forget about depreciation.
That was a Panigale 1299S.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Should you buy a used motorcycle?
But the maintenance on the thing, because look,
Here's the other
how much
problem.
fun was it to drive? Did you ever
Not
pull
much
up
fun.
like outside of a casino, like, hey girls,
But
you
here's
know?
the thing. Here's the thing. Like, is that really? After a while,
worst.
you're like, do I own this car for this? And the thing is, how often can you drive it? You're in New York
Yes.
City. Pretend I'm in Philly. I'm
Well,
in the
that's
city.
just it. Is another point is like, are you going to be able to enjoy this car? And if you can't afford it, and you're buying a used car just because you want the flash. Imagine how cautious you have to drive this thing.
That was the thing. Every
Like,
time
you
I
have to
turned
be
it
so
on,
careful.
I could afford the maintenance, I could afford repairs, but a new engine in a 360 is $40,000 just for the part, just for the motor. Then you got to put it in. And every time I turned the key, I thought to myself, "Tell me this didn't factor into your decision to get a Porsche instead of something else."
I mean, well, actually, if I could buy any used classic, it probably would be a Magnum Ferrari. So what did he have, a 308?
308, yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't fit in one. I'm 6'3", and
yeah, I have
the
the
pedals
opposite
are way too small.
problem.
Maybe I'll buy one for you.
I've driven ours with a pillow behind me. I have like completely.
Oh, you
opposite
have one
problem.
already.
But at least
We had
at
one,
least
yeah,
you
we
can put a
had
pillow,
two.
right? You can't make yourself smaller.
So, but I mean, that's why I bought the most practical sports car I could buy. I mean, the
Size
every
only?
time I tested out a Lamborghini Huracan a couple weeks ago. Amazing car.
amazing. Yeah.
Amazing car. I don't think you could build a better sports car.
ridiculous.
I think it's better than, obviously it's better than an Aventador because you can actually use it around tight curves, but I was so happy to get out and get back into the 911, and I felt like I was driving a Ford Escort again for
Right.
a couple days because of the lack
Really?
of power.
But the thing
You're
is,
not
it's
spoiled
still,
at all.
but
it's still a
it's
cool
so
car.
comfortable. It's so comfortable.
Right.
It's so easy to drive. Right now I have a Mustang GT. It's an awesome car, a lot of fun to drive, but it feels huge compared to the 911. So the 911 is like practical and really easy to live with on a regular basis.
Do you think, either of you, you've both had some experience with these cars, do you think that exotic cars are not practical and easy to live with on a day-to-day basis?
I don't think you buy them for the practicality.
Of course not. But I mean,
I mean,
if you got to drive these things, right?
I mean, my
You drive these
friend
things around
has
New
a Scuderia that he bought. That's his used supercar experience, and he drives it whenever he can. It's.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a passion there.
I drove
You
my
find a
360
reason to
whenever I
drive.
could,
Yeah.
and I only was able to do about 5,000 miles a year. But they
Why
weren't.
weren't you driving it every day?
It's just try to do that. That's what the commenters all
I
said
would
to me.
make-
If I had a Ferrari, I would drive it
make
every day.
the time.
No, you wouldn't, because the thing is, in order to afford driving a Ferrari, you have to work constantly. And A, and B, it sucks. The roads suck.
Yeah, I
The
agree. If
people
you can't
talk
get
to
out
me,
of town,
the
yeah.
people, my God. If I get approached by one more person at a gas station, hey man, you want to trade?
Yeah,
I
that's
will
the thing,
literally
yeah.
cut off his face and then my own.
If you're talking about exotic cars, I wouldn't consider, for example, a new 911 an exotic car. I think you're talking about something that is inherently difficult to live with, difficult to use as a daily
Difficult
driver.
to
You can't
buy,
daily
to
drive it, or
find.
else it's not really an exotic car.
Would you trade your 911 for that experience, for an exotic car experience? Bearing
No.
in mind that you drive this vehicle
Well,
into
that's
Manhattan
it.
every day.
Yeah.
I
that's
might
different.
buy an exotic car now that I have a new 911 that I can easily use on a regular basis. If I found a 308 for 25 grand and I could fit in it, and you told me maintenance would only be like 5 or 6 grand a year, I might do that. I
Right.
definitely would do that if I could guarantee
Because
that.
that's the thing. It's the perfect fourth car. This is what the conclusion I've ultimately come to. And it's funny because Classic Car Club is kind of based around this theory, right? That people
Yeah.
don't want to actually to deal with
You
these
join the
things.
club, you drive the cars. You don't have to own them
Right,
or maintain
you get to
them.
actually experience them when you want to, sort of on a lesser scale, and you don't have to deal with all the crap that comes along with
But
it.
these are most of these used supercars. I mean, my bosses have had posters of these cars on their walls growing up. And, you know, a supercar, whether it's
Right.
old or new,
Right.
I think there's a reason that you buy them, and you buy them because, you know, if somebody that just bought a manual 430, that's really special. You're
So
not
then
going
the
to
question
see...
is, then the question
gated
is,
shifter?
is
yes,
it worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
The question is it worth it? You said yourself you like the 993, which is a great car.
I love that car.
Right. So would you
baby.
rather have a 993? Those are, you know, those would stand out. They're not pretentious, but they're so much fun.
Yeah.
And they're so pure.
I
So
know.
then the question is, like, would you rather have that, or would you rather try to deal with like an exotic car?
I think it depends on the person, right? Like,
So what about you?
I mean, if I had the means to have...
Yeah. If you had the means
If
to
I had the means to have...
458.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. If I had the means to acquire a Ford GT, hells yeah.
Yes.
You know,
like an
that is
0506,
a
or you
huge-
mean like
yes.
an
Oh
original?
yeah, I mean
Yes,
that's a
yes.
$500,000 car. What I mean,
Original,
like,
I can't reach the pedals on that. It's the opposite problem.
The original I can't fit in, but the
See, yeah, there you go.
0506 I definitely could do.
Yeah, so there's
My-
a used supercar that is just a part of
Do you know
history.
what I think? There's one
you know?
one thing about owning an exotic car, you don't necessarily need to drive it. Like, I always want to join the classic car club just to hang out around the cars.
No, I think that
don't
there's something
need-
about that.
I don't need to get in, you know, the
It's nice,
RS60
it's
and
nice
take it
to-
around the block. I really don't, you know? If someone turns it on and I can hear it, that's almost enough.
Yeah.
I strongly believe, especially after having talked to all these commenters who are like, why didn't you appreciate it more? I strongly believe that that when I actually got the car, I started to realize all of its limitations. And then I was like, why am I not just buying a Porsche?
Well, that's the
Driving
other
that
reason
Ferrari,
I think you
there
should
was
buy a used supercar.
every day I drove that Ferrari, all I thought to myself was, I wish I had a Porsche.
Well, so the other reason I think that you should buy a used supercar is because I think that it tests you more. Nowadays, not that I'm not grateful for how sophisticated and amazing some of these cars are, but you know, the older cars are more raw. They have less driver aids. They kind of teach you how to be a better driver, right? Because you're not so dependent on all these things.
For sure, you get the
this
hydraulic
new-
steering, you
Yeah,
get the
you
real
all these-
brake.
and it's great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it's.
No
They're
throttle
certainly
by
more
wire.
pure. And
But
there's-
I
there's
just
something to
drove
be
a
said for that.
Noble on Lightning. That's amazing.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
It was incredible, and you don't have all these like things correcting you.
Where do
and,
you
know.
service a Noble in the Manhattan area?
That's a good question.
This was another issue.
Where do you service any of those? Do you guys have just mechanics that work all the time at the
Yeah.
club?
See, this is the thing. I mean-
GJ, who's an incredible driver, mechanic, all around, services the majority of our cars. Obviously, if you have a supercar covered under warranty, don't touch it.
So you guys
Bring it
have
back
lifts
to
and
the
stuff, and
dealer.
you're working on. I mean, that was another factor. I had to go to the dealer for everything, and the dealer couldn't get me in for 2 weeks, and the dealer was 45 minutes from my house, and this just gets incredibly annoying after a while. You get a Toyota.
You have to just be aggressive with them.
But even so, I mean, you got a Toyota. There's 50 Toyota dealers. You don't care, right? They can get you in tomorrow. They give you.
True,
they
but
give
then
a
you
can.
have to have a Toyota, and I wouldn't want to talk
However,
to
Porsche dealers are pretty good. There's 1,000
you.
Porsche dealers in
My
the metro area.
Porsche dealer, I
No.
use
Where do you go to?
New Country in Greenwich.
Okay, yeah.
They're amazing. When I go to them, they, you know, they cater to my every need, and then they call me after and say, how was it? Is
Right.
there anything we could improve? I know them all on a first name basis.
They give you a Cayenne, right?
They're great.
They give you a
They
nice
give-
Cayenne hybrid when you come in.
They gave me a Cayenne, but I don't want a Cayenne. You know, so hopefully next
Cayenne
time they give me a
hybrid.
Cayman.
Well, whatever they can't sell. A Cayenne
Yeah.
hybrid, the Panamera hybrid,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Something bad, but I mean, again, I don't really think that's an exotic car.
So your view is you would upgrade, you would add an exotic car to your fleet
For
if
sure.
it meant you could have at least one
if I
other
could
normal.
afford it,
If you
I
had
mean,
your
I have
daily
my
driver-
truck and I have my 911 if I could afford it, and if I had the garage space, and if my wife would allow me, I would add like
That's a lot of ifs.
an inexpensive
problem.
exotic
That's why so
car,
many-
and
so
you can
few
get a
people
lot of
have it. Yeah,
inexpensive exotic cars. You can get a lot of exotic cars for 30 or 25 grand, and there's a reason that they cost so little, because the owner just wants to get rid of them. You know?
There's a lot
No,
of
it's
people who
true,
are in
yeah.
that I want to get rid of it boat. I mean,
Yeah.
I certainly was. I was so excited to
You
dump
have
my
to
car.
have the passion and the patience and the means
Yes.
to maintain one of these, right?
Yeah,
But
I think that's exactly right.
if I had all that, hells yes, I'd have
Yeah.
a whole fleet of them.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. I don't think I was prepared for all the compromises that I had to make. I was coming out of owning Porsche. And
Well, you
having
bought
Porsches.
one of the most expensive exotic cars to maintain.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
had you bought like a 964,
Yeah, but I
it would have been a lot easier and a lot
can't
cheaper.
write about it. I can't write about a Porsche.
964s, those are hard parts to.
And they have.
Are they hard to get? I mean,
Yeah.
I hope they're not hard
Nobody-
to get. I hope those are
Little
easy
bit.
and cheap to maintain.
No, a 964 is famous for oil leakage. But that's okay. They're
Like
good
an
cars.
87 to 89 911.
It's an 89 to 94, yeah. The 964 is a cool car, but I can't write about a Porsche. Nobody's gonna click on that.
You write about a Humvee.
But people do click on that.
What? Why would nobody click on that?
Here's what I do with my 911. Their
Lies.
uncle has a 911. But nobody knows anybody who's driving around in a Hummer, you know what I'm saying?
True. And hopefully you won't know anyone who's driving a Hummer
Yeah,
pretty
dude,
soon either.
what?
That's the worst car in the world.
How bad
so I want
is
to talk
it?
about the single worst car ever manufactured. Take it the single worst car you can conceptualize and double it. And then double that. And that is about the level we're on with the
I had to ask Matt, like, why the hell would Doug have bought a Hummer?
But the thing is,
I read through all of your
people love
posts
it.
to try and figure it out, and I couldn't get it.
Do people really love it?
Oh, the stories are the most popular ones I read. People love it.
Okay.
You bought the slowest one,
Yeah, I got 190 brake horsepower in that book.
and it weighs 7,000 pounds?
Yeah, more.
Another reason I think it's cool to buy, or smart to buy a used supercar is the fact that, like, all the quirks, all the new quirks, you kind of get the older car that doesn't have all of the new issues, right? Or I'm not wording that right.
No,
but
there's
you know what I
certainly
mean?
some
Like,
benefit to that.
There's definitely a benefit to, like, okay, I don't have the brand new this or the brand new that, and they're still working out some issues that haven't been resolved. I don't know.
You
That's
also,
been the
if
experience that I've seen.
you make the right decision, you won't lose money. I mean, Spike Ferriston was on the Today Show, the other day, and he was pointing out, I think, an old Porsche for Al Roker and an old Mercedes for what's her name? I don't know the people on the Today Show, but he was like, "Look, this is money well spent because it will not come out of this car." And he told me the same thing when he told me to buy a 997 GT3. And had I been able to deal with the ride every day on the Henry Hudson, I probably would have gotten it. And that's a car you won't lose money on.
The thing about that not losing money, though, is people, I think...
And you'll get a manual transmission.
I think people don't
Yes.
realize...
Well, I have a manual transmission.
Okay.
I wouldn't buy it.
There's a lot that goes into that. I mean, you still have to pay sales tax, which is 8%. You still have to pay insurance. You're still paying maintenance. You're still...
Depends on who's
like,
like-
I don't think anybody's really making money on these. Unless the value is just skyrocketed.
Well, think
I guess,
about
yeah.
how rare it's going to be to have a manual Porsche.
But I
in
mean,
the future,
GT3s,
or-
right? Like, I mean, those cars they're 100, they were 100, they're still 110. I mean, you're not going to make...
I found a 2011 997 GT3 with 30,000 miles for 97 grand. So, yeah, I would have had to pay sales tax. I would have had to pay insurance, maintenance, but I'm paying that anyway on every vehicle, and I have a garage full of insurance, high insurance vehicles that cost money anyway. So, if I ended up turning that around for 100 grand 3 or 4 years later,
maybe you're not making money, but you're certainly not losing.
I'm
as
not
much as
losing
you
a
would.
ton of money. I'm not feeling the pain, at least.
Right.
And most of the used supercars that I would consider buying, they're collectibles, so they're just going to appreciate. That's an investment, as far as I'm concerned. That's not.
No, and that's certainly true, especially if you don't drive them incredibly much.
I'd love to talk to your
I think
accountant,
even if-
the Classic Car Club accountant, and
the
figure out.
Classic Car Club. Can you imagine?
And figure out. Well, I mean, look, they have a lot of cars that must appreciate, right? And they have a lot of cars that probably don't.
Okay, so we got to wrap it up, guys. If you were buying a used exotic car, maybe you have a reasonable price cap. You're not buying a Koenigsegg. What would you get?
NSX for me.
NSX.
Yeah.
Very reliable, excellent, solid choice. Those are, I mean, everybody loves them.
There's two sides of me, and I hate to throw nationality and race into this, but there's the crazy Latin lady that's like, just get in a Ferrari, and then there's the sensible Jewish side that's just like, well, think about maintenance and how much parts are going to cost, and so ultimately that side usually wins. Yeah, I think
For me, it would be, I probably would have to decide between like an '89 911. Or like a 308 or a 328, and I'd need to figure out those engine issues first. But
we'll talk after.
At least the latter, the latter you can find for such a cheap price.
Yeah.
That even high maintenance wouldn't disturb me, depending how high, on a $30,000, $35,000 Ferrari. I mean,
the answer to this question is, you would get a 430 Spider with a stick shift, which is the greatest car ever made, and you would fill it up in the suburbs at night, so that no one would come up to you at the gas station and say, "Can I trade you?" That is my opinion.
all right.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. And
Thanks for having us.
Up next, we will go to Tavares to find out what used exotics you picked. And now it's time to hear from Tavares. Many of you who regularly read Jalopnik know Tavares as the guy who convinced you to buy a used M5 instead of a computer so your children could do their schoolwork. Today, he's going to tell us his take on buying a used exotic. Tavares?
Well, Doug, the first car we have is a 2004 Bentley Continental GT, and that's brought to us by a guy named Liquid Burns.
Liquid Burns.
Well, the 2004 Continental, it's a pretty great value for what you can get.
What do they cost now?
Well, this one is just under 50 grand.
Under 50.
Yeah, under 50. And they've been hovering around 60 to 70 for a while, and then now they're coming down, especially the earlier models. It's a twin-turbo W12 Bentley that you can get for the price of actually less than like a base model 5 Series.
And there's still, the body style hasn't, I mean, they facelifted it.
They facelifted it, but you can buy all the facelift components off eBay.
You can make yours look like a brand new car.
Yeah, just a brand new car for 50 grand. And this thing crested 200 grand when it was brand new.
And they've got, it was 550 horsepower.
Yeah.
They really haul. I've driven those things. They're really, really fast.
It's a 200-mile-an-hour car.
Yeah.
It's,
That's right. for 50 grand.
And it's hand-built. And it's
Is it hand-built?
Yeah, it is definitely hand-built.
What do you think the tech is like in an 04 Bentley?
It's not bad because it's all Volkswagen stuff. So you can actually buy a lot of the stuff like coil packs and different engine components. You can replace them at your local AutoZone. So it actually makes a lot of financial sense.
Man, so it was quad turbo or twin turbo?
That was twin turbo. Yeah.
Twin turbo W12.
Yeah.
Bentley. Would you be concerned about long term?
I mean, the fact that it's all-wheel drive, maybe with I wouldn't do many drag launches on it, but I wouldn't. It's not really a daily driver. It's more of like a weekend car. So
Right. Understood. Okay, cool. Well, what else you got for us?
Well, the next car we have is a little bit of a surprising one. It's a 1987 Porsche 911 Turbo.
Yeah.
And that's the 930.
The 930.
Now,
The Widowmaker.
that one is just at 50 grand, and those are actually going down in value. I mean, some of the more high mileage ones. This one has just around 100,000 miles, right? This one, I'd say, is a good deal just because you'd buy it at 50 grand and just get paid to wait.
Yeah, I think you probably would. I mean, those cars are pretty cool.
Yeah.
People are going to want those cars long term.
Well, they're not making any more, especially air-cooled turbo cars.
Air-cooled rear-wheel drive. And that was before they did all-wheel drive with the turbo. That's why those cars killed so many people. Because you'd be in mid-corner and before that, the turbo would kick in.
Well, these cars also have the engine way out back. Like the more later model ones, they kind of reined it in a little bit, made it a little more mid-engine-y.
Yeah.
But these
what
ones.
color is this one?
This one's black.
Black. Okay.
Yeah. So this one is definitely a Widowmaker. Snap oversteer right into a tree. But if you can avoid that, it's a great buy.
How much power do those things have?
I have no idea. A lot too many.
Too much for the people. Yeah. Cool. Well, all right. What else you got?
Well, the last car I have is it's an Italian car. It has a 4.2 liter Ferrari V8. And an amazing exhaust note.
See where this is going?
But it's not a Ferrari. It's a 2004 Maserati Coupe GT.
Yeah.
And
the old Maserati Coupe. Yeah, those are nice.
And that's brought to us by a user B Doll.
How much is this one?
This one is way under budget. It's under 20 grand.
Under 20 grand.
Yeah. And I mean, this one it doesn't have the stupid Cambio Corsa,
Right, because that's the big problem with that car. The Cambio Corsa was like, I've driven a million. It was like driving with someone who's learning to drive stick.
Right.
And had never.
But then
driven
they
a
never
car
get
before.
better.
Oh yeah, right. There's no over 30,000 miles. There's no improvement, and also you need a $10,000 clutch.
Yeah.
Those are cool cars though. They look good.
Yeah. So this one is a 6-speed. And that's exactly the one you want to get. So, I mean, under 20 grand, you have a Ferrari V8, 6-speed, rear-wheel drive. It has a great exhaust note. It's not connected to some, stupid SUV. So that's
right.
Yeah, that's
cool.
the one.
Well, I like those, and I think that's a good recommendation. All three of those are good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tavares.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone for tuning in. We'll be talking about all the cars in the comments below and on Jalopnik. And don't forget to subscribe for some more great Jalopnik videos. But before you go, I leave you with this question. If you park a used exotic car in your garage but never drive it, will it gain more dust or value? Let us know in the comments.
Dougie!
Yes, Mom.
Dougie, I accidentally hit my life alert button and an ambulance is on the way.
Oh, God. Why, Mom? Why?
I bumped it into the dishwasher.
All right, I'll be right there. When does Mom have a life alert? Her son lives at home. What the hell is she doing?
Never be too safe.
Want to do it again? Freaking Rosella, you can't buy him. All right, ready?
So this is Doug DeMuro's basement, huh?
Yeah. I motherfucking told you to buy a 997.
I know. I should
I
have.
told you.
I should have.
Just saying.
that it?
So much happened.
I kind of regret it. Yeah.
We're good there. Called you Freddie by accident.
It's
It's
fine.
like when you're working with an actor.
It's totally fine.